Greetings, unsettled souls, and welcome to The Correct Views. Sam I.B. Gangi doing political commentary for the MediaSpeaks.com. Behind me, paid for by your donations at thecorrectviews@hotmail.com, the Fact Cam. Why do I call it the Fact Cam? Because there seems to always be people that will question whether or not I actually give any sources or not. So behind me is the Fact Cam. It will give you will see exactly what I'm reading. You will see all my sources. So maybe you're saying I'm looking at the long-haired guy. How would I say that? Make sure you stay tuned. You're looking at the long-haired guy and you're thinking, why the hell should I listen to him for? He doesn't know what he's talking about. Well, I do know what I'm talking about. So you're going to have to hate me for another reason. And there's a whole bunch of reasons. So, I mean, you can pile them on. I'm taking donations here of hatred. But you cannot say that I'm making things up because all of my facts are, in fact, always now on the Fact Cam. Friends, prisonplanet.com. It's actually, that's where I found it, but it's Washington's blog. U.S. rejected offers by Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, and Syria to surrender and proceeded to wage war. I voted libertarian almost every election of my life. And I jumped ship because I hated Bednarik. And I have regretted that decision ever since. Because do you realize, and this is where I'm going to go into a little bit more of actual commentary than I think a lot of people are used to. But welcome aboard. I hope that's why you're watching. In the Bible, it warns of the horse, the final horses, as green, black, red, and white. Well, that would be the primary, actually the only four colors found on every flag of the nations that I just told you to. You can also add 8 others to it. So some people consider that to be the 4 horses. For those of you that don't follow that, then perhaps you don't know what I'm talking about, which is fine. But these nations would not be as powerful and as threatening to any of us if they had been intelligent enough to realize that what they were doing was building an army against us. And that would be ISIS, of course. And do you realize that Afghanistan was going to hand over bin Laden before we went in? They'd never handed over anyone before without absolute proof that they were involved, but they were willing to do it. And we invaded anyway. Did you know that? Because I did not. Iraq, I still believe that and I'll tell you why. I don't know if there was a lot of Al-Qaeda in Iraq before we went in, but Musab al-Zarqawi, the guy that beheaded Daniel Pearl, was allowed safe haven in Iraq before we got there, and he was affiliated with Al-Qaeda. However, Saddam was going to surrender. All he wanted was to make sure he didn't die, and he wanted basic protection like you would give a president, like Bill Clinton has, for instance. He wanted protected, and he was going to go away. We invaded. How about Gaddafi? Muammar Gaddafi got his butt kicked by Ronald Reagan, for better or for worse. And after that, guess what? He wasn't a problem. In some ways, he was an asset. He was willing to step down. We invaded Libya, and it led to everything we know now that has been the main rise of ISIS. How about President Assad? I don't normally praise Putin. I really don't like Putin very much. Regular listeners know this, but I'm going to be fair, and I'm going to do nothing but talk about Putin's good points, such as the fact that he believes, if you believe all religions are equal, if you believe that worshiping the devil is the same as worshiping God, then you are, in fact, leading to the fall of civilization and normalcy and decency as we know it. It's Vladimir Putin that believes that. That's good. Again, I'm going to stay away from all of my Putin criticisms. All my regular listeners are having a heart attack right now. We're not going to attack Putin. We're going to talk about what he does right. Putin was willing to get the president of Syria, Assad, to step down. Instead, this has happened. Now, you can blame Bush, you can blame Obama, you can blame whatever, but what if you didn't vote for any of the major political parties? What if you didn't this year? What if you really didn't do that? Because otherwise, I'm telling you, what Obama has done in Libya is what Bush did in Iraq. Listen to this. The Daily Mail reported last year that a self-selected group of former top military officers, CIA insiders, and think tankers declared Tuesday in Washington that a 7-month review of the deadly 2012 terrorist attack has determined that Gaddafi, ordered to advocate as leader of Libya, he was willing to step down. We didn't need to go in there. And again, this is what has led to ISIS. This is what has led to the migrant problem that we're seeing now. Because we didn't let these people just surrender after we asked them to. So maybe we are going after their pipeline. Maybe we are going after their oil. Maybe your tax dollars and my tax dollars are going to fund really vile people. We attack somebody after they surrendered? Who does that? This is what we're paying for? Really? Gaddafi wasn't a good guy, but he was being marginalized. Retired Admiral Chuck Kubrick recalled Gaddafi actually offered to advocate, that means leave for you Kesha fans, shortly after the beginning of 2011 during the rebellion. But the U.S. ignored his calls for a truce, the commission wrote, ultimately backing the horse that would later help kill the U.S. ambassador. Kubrick said that the effort at truce talks fell apart when the White House declined to let the Pentagon pursue it seriously. We had a leader who had won the Nobel Peace Prize, that'd be Obama, but he was unwilling to give peace a chance for just 72 hours. Washington Times, another source, wrote in January, I have been contacted by an intermediary in Libya who has indicated that President Muammar Gaddafi is willing to negotiate an end to the conflict under conditions that would seem to favor admission policy, according to Dennis Kucinich, and he wrote this in August 24th. Mrs. Clinton ordered a general within the Pentagon to refuse to take a call with Gaddafi's son Saif and other high-level members within the regime to help negotiate a resolution, the secret recordings reveal. Mrs. Clinton, who should never be anywhere near the White House, she should not be allowed to scoop up dog crap off of the White House lawn. She went in and killed Gaddafi. Why? Again, in 86, we went over there. We bombed his palaces for what he did. We killed his daughter. And peace had long been made. Gaddafi was not being a problem. I remember that time distinctly. I was young and just getting into a lot of this. I'm telling you, this is evil. Everything I am getting from the State Department is that they do not care about being part of this. Secretary Clinton does not want to negotiate at all. No, she just wants to bomb. So why don't we elect her to president? It said Gaddafi came back and said he was willing to step down and permit a transition government. But he had two conditions. First was to ensure that there was a military that would be left over in Libya to take care of Al-Qaeda, who wants Al-Qaeda running loose in the country they loved when they stepped down. That's reasonable. Secondly, he wanted to department. It wasn't enough to get him to step out of power. They wanted him dead. General Ham was ordered to stand down 2 days later. Do you think that's kind of weird? Similarly, Saddam Hussein, I hated Saddam Hussein. He needed to step down. I'm sorry, he needed to step down. Now, do I think it's America's policies to force him to do so? No. But I would be interested in not doing business with him till he did step down. Considering that we know Saddam Hussein had things like rape rooms. They were listed. It was like, how many of you see the old Batman episodes when they had like the bow and the Pam? Adam West ones, remember? It would say evil torture room or something akin to that on the door. And you would go into the evil torture room. And of course, the evil torture machine had the label on it. Do you realize Saddam Hussein had rape rooms? that were listed in a sign that said rape rooms. Okay, so the man was not a good man. Okay, he really was not somebody we needed to do business with, because doing business with these people was simply like doing business with the Nazis. You might as well be Ford. Well, listen to this. In the few weeks before its fall, Iraq's Ba'athist regime, that is Saddam's, made a series of increasingly desperate peace offers to Washington, promising to hold elections and even to allow U.S. troops to search for banned weapons. But the advances were all rejected by the Bush administration, according to intermediaries in the talks. So get this. Get this. Christelle, our media card is full Christelle. Low def people, you're going to win today. Listen to this. According to the Bush administration, many of us that wished we had not supported him at the time, what have we found? I'll tell you what we found. We were told that Saddam wasn't allowing people in to check for weapons of mass destruction. And guess what? He was. He was asking for peace. Moreover, Saddam offered to leave Iraq. Fearing defeat, Saddam was prepared to go peacefully in return for $100 billion. Well, guess what? That was not true. It was fabricated. And had he wanted $1 billion, it would have been cheaper than the 4-year war anyway. But listen to this. Susan Lindeur from Washington's blog wrote, Christelle, our data card is full. That's absolutely true about Saddam's frantic officers to retire to a villa in Trikert before the invasion, except that he never demanded $1 billion or $500 million. He only asked for a private brigade of Iraqi National Guard, which he compared to President Clinton's Secret Service detail for life throughout retirement. I know this for a fact, it goes on, because I myself was the back channel to the Iraqi embassy. There's a source for you. At the UN in New York, who carried the message to Washington and the United Nations General Assembly and Security Council. It says Kofi Annan was very much aware of it. So was Spain's President Aznar. Those historical details were redacted from the history books when George Bush ordered my arrest on the Patriot Act as an Iraqi agent, a political farce with no supporting evidence except my passionate anti-war activism and urgent warnings that the war in Iraq would uncover what would it uncover? No weapons of mass destruction. We did find some canisters of gas, but it wasn't worth what we did. We would fire up a violent and bloody counterinsurgency, she says, and would result in Iran's rise as a regional power. Guess what? All of that has happened. In 2007, the Senate Intelligence Committee hailed my warnings in January of 2003 as the chief human intelligence covering Iraq in the UN to be one of the only bright spots in the pre-war intelligence. Nevertheless, in 2005 and again in 2008, I was declared incompetent to stand trial and threatened with indefinite detention up to 10 years on Carswell Air Force Base in order to protect and cover up pre-war Iraqi intelligence. What else can you say? How about Afghanistan? This is in The Guardian, 2001. Returning to the White House after a week at Camp David, the president said the bombing would not stop unless the ruling Taliban turned over bin Laden. Well, guess what? A senior Taliban minister had offered a last-minute deal to hand over Osama bin Laden during a secret visit to Islamabad, senior sources in Pakistan told The Guardian last night. So you tell somebody they have to step down, and they agree to step down, and your tax dollars, my tax dollars, are paying to have them bombed. Well, listen to this. Bloomberg 2012. More sources. FactCam. As Syria slides towards civil war, Russia is signaling that it will no longer view President Assad's portion as tenable and is working with the U.S. to seek an orderly transition. After meeting with French President Francois Hollande, among the most adamant of Western leaders demanding Assad's departure, Putin said Russia was not invested in Assad staying. However, we invaded Syria anyway. Putin offered to give us exactly what we wanted. And we brought all of this anyway. Our government did. Listen to this. Foreignpolicy.com. What we have now is you have Syria, all with Russia entrenched in it. They have their ground troops there. Many people have said, what was reported that we had our special forces there, and then of course they changed it and said that we simply had special forces training other forces. But we have Russia entrenched there now. They were willing to have Assad step down. You can't blame Putin, can you? Not on that one. No. So, I mean, that's where these migrants come from that are invading Europe. Why do they have nowhere to go? And most of them are probably innocent. They haven't done anything. Why do they have nowhere to go? Because of this. Because of what I'm telling you. Why am I doing it? Why am I telling you? So that you won't make the same mistakes and vote for these people again. Won't even think about voting for these people again. What are some other options? Well, we all like Rand Paul. We know he's going nowhere. How about Gary Johnson? Why? Why do you have to vote for the two parties? Don't tell me you're throwing your vote away. Share this video, get it out to other people, and vote third party. Why? Why can't you do that? Because we're going to get the same thing over and over and over again otherwise. What's what we've gotten? What difference has there been between Bush and Obama? Then what difference is there going to be between Jeb and Trump or Jeb and, God forbid, Hillary? At least Trump is a little different. Who else is different? John McAfee. Exclusive interview. John McAfee announces White House bid. McAfee. See, I'm questioning as to whether or not McAfee really wants to win, and I'll tell you why. I don't mean to be a doomsayer here after promoting third parties or anything, but just hear me out. John McAfee has announced this so very late that I don't think his campaign can get any traction unless Trump crashes. It's going to be very hard to pump up Bush. So far, thankfully, nobody's excited about his run. And Clinton falls at the same time. Then you could see a spike in interest for people that otherwise aren't being looked at. And you could see a spike for John McAfee there. Do I think he's going to win? No. But I think that would be one thing that would greatly increase his numbers beyond what we think. McAfee, for those of you that don't know, if it sounds like an antivirus program, it is. He was the leader of what we know of computer protection. The trouble is his website, as of this posting, has no information on where he stands on any issues. It just says who he is and that he's running. So I don't know how serious this is. It may be just an attempt to draw our attention to what the spying and NSA apparatus has done to us. And if that's what it is, then you know what? That's good. It's still not bad. McAfee, successful tech entrepreneur John McAfee officially announced in 2016 presidential bid to InfoWars Tuesday following an interview on the Alex Jones show. Now, this is dated September 8th. It's the 17th, and no one's talking about it, so that's not good. The McAfee antivirus. Why can I not talk today? I'm dying of thirst. The software founder said his team actually filed today formally with the Federal Election Commission in response to requests that the former NASA computer programmer enter the presidential race. It goes on that a number of people have been advising me to run, urging me to run, McAfee said. My team actually filed today formally. Well, maybe you should have done that a little bit earlier because right now it's Trump's to lose. And again, he attacked Rand Paul for absolutely no reason in the debates today, except to really piss off us libertarians. Because for people like me, David Lake's been trying to win me over, that we're willing to give Trump a listen. Keep attacking libertarians, Trump. You'll lose our vote. Keep pushing us. McAfee stated that his desire was rooted in both the government's gross misunderstanding of technology as well as the overwhelming need to restore the privacy rights of American citizens. That's great. Where do you stand on North Korea? Where do you stand on ISIS? Where do you stand on foreign involvements? Anything and nothing here. The government has failed us in so many ways, Alex, and something has to be done about it. He said, well, he'd better hurry up. But yeah, I mean, John McAfee's running. If we find out what he's running on, we'll get to it. IFLscience.com. And this is we'll get back into more news in a minute. This is getting away from the normal grind here for 30 seconds. Oldest known message in a bottle found. I thought this was interesting. I thought it'd be great to stop talking about people killing each other for a minute. A postcard placed in a bottle and thrown into the North Sea more than a century ago has been found and returned to the scientific institution responsible for its distribution. Rather than a love letter or an SOS to the world, that's great. It's part of one of the longest running scientific experiments in the world. From 1904 to 1906, George Parker Bitter of the Marine Biological Association of the UK placed 1,020 postcards addressed to the institution in bottles and had them released into the North Sea. The cards offered a reward of $1 to anyone who found one and posted it back with information. Marianne, which sounds like maritime, that's great. Winkler found the bottle in April on the beach on Amrum, an island off Germany's north coast. Winkler told local website Arun News, it's always a joy finding a message in a bottle on the beach. Where does it come from? Who wrote it? And how long has it been traveling in the wind, waves, and currents? In this case, the bottle was undated, so while Winkler could tell it was old, she had no idea that the bottle had been at sea so long that it would likely break the current world record of 99 years. The NBA are still waiting for this to be confirmed as of this writing. Listen to this. This is great. As instructed by the note, Winkler and her husband smashed the bottle and mailed the card back to the NBA. Its communications director, Guy Baker, told the Telegraph that it was quite a stir when he opened up that envelope. That's awesome. Imagine 100 years this thing may have been out there. Although the NBA announced the bottle's discovery in May, the story stayed submerged for a while, much like the bottle itself. Suddenly, the finding was noticed last week, leading to a flurry of media attention. Bitter was particularly interested in studying sea currents rather than the better understood movements at the surface. And it says, rather than being washed ashore, 55% of these bottles were caught in fishing nets. So that took a lot of the experiment away. But true to its word, it said the NBA sent the Winglers an old English shilling. So that's awesome. They didn't give them like new money. They actually gave them an old English shilling. At least some people are still honest. Friends, you're listening to The Correct Views. We got 3 more stories to get to. I just want to ask everybody, if at all possible, to check us out on Tumblr. Nobody's on Tumblr. I know. Nobody is ever on Tumblr. There it is. That's the only time you'll ever see Tumblr. Nobody's on it. Correct Views is on it. You can also go to the mediaspeaks.com. When you do, swing by one of the sponsors there as well, Sticker Junkie, who made these amazing stickers that you can see here. My band, Passing Time. We're playing with Pop Will Eat Itself, as you can see right here, September 27th. And leave me a note on why you like the band, and you might win this ticket. So, go to stickerjunkie.com and let David Lake know that you heard about it from The Correct Views, and you're going to get a discount on your stickers. And they're going to look great. They're going to look like this. Why? Because Sticker Junkie does great work. Friends, next story brought to you by Mike McLaughlin, MacLauglin. He's a writer, he's a poet, he's a political commentator. You can find him on Facebook. The real reason to avoid MSG, industry's secret ingredient for food addiction. Basically, they're putting things in food, this is Christina Sarich InfoWars, that are causing your body to want to eat it even after you're full. And it's not that they're manipulating normal things like your taste buds to do it, but they're doing it with chemicals and by altering the very structure of the food itself. It says you likely already know that the food ingredient MSG, it's monosodium glutamate, isn't good for you. You may even know that some of the popular reasons why, but did you know that MSG is primarily used by the food industry to keep us addicted to big taste, little nutrition food? It's an industry secret. read on and find out why MSG makes you eat more fast food while fattening up the food industry's bottom line. And it said aside from high fructose corn syrup and artificial flavors, chemicals with flavor packets, and they're like ramen noodles. MSG is at the top of the list of food additives that you should avoid. It's a trigger substance that food makers are very aware of. Get this. It is put into food to cause the Pavlovian response. It's a link right there. Fact cam, see? I guess that'd be right there. Creating a trigger for you to eat more food and never be satiated. The FDA calls MSG generally recognized as safe, though the ingredient has been found to cause skin rashes, itching, hives, vomiting, asthma, heart irregularities, seizures, chest pain, nausea, weakness, and especially headaches and migraines, among other issues. It's a real good way to tell if your Chinese food is MSG laden or not. A study published in the journal Headache Pain reveals how just a single dose of MSG caused headaches in healthy subjects. Well, guess what? It's also addictive. Since it's very inexpensive, they say go ahead and use it. But the trouble is, it makes you crave sugar, and it interferes with an important set of hormones that control satiation. That means that when you eat MSG, your body doesn't remember how to tell you that it's full, so you just keep eating. Since the salty taste makes you crave the taste of sweet, you are likely to go back for cookies once you've had your nachos covered in processed cheese or your burger full of MSG. Interesting, isn't it? Because that describes a whole lot of us. And I think right there, unfortunately, we might know a reason why. And friends, that brings us to the dumdies, not one, but two dumdies of the day. Oh yeah, see, for those of you that don't know, we do the dumdy of the day every day. These are stories that are dumb, but not quite dumb enough to make it onto the dunce cap of the month, which we do once a month. We have mailed dunce caps to the FBI, to the Pentagon, to police stations, to Child Protective Nazi Services. We've mailed out many a dunce cap, Christelle and I. Well, listen to this. Feds pay company discriminated against, I can't read. Kurt Nemo InfoWars, take two. Ting, Feds say company discriminated against illegals. Orders back pay. First of all, it's illegal to hire an illegal alien. If you do, how is it that they are entitled to... Listen to this. The Justice Department says Nebraska beef discriminated against illegal alien workers by asking them for proof of citizenship. The Department of Justice's official of Special Counsel for Immigration-related unfair employment practices objected to non-U.S. citizens being targeted because of their citizenship status, according to Judicial Watch. In other words, the Americans who have been here, and I don't mean white people, that's not what I mean at all. Whatever color you are, if you are here legally, you are not entitled to the job. So that other people who are not here legally can get paid less, take money away from you, and not ever have to go through the responsibilities of being an American, which is at the root of this. It's not your color. It's not religion. I agree with Donald Trump that we should not be selling citizenship. It should be easier and cheaper to get in. But we need to make sure who's here, and we need to make sure that they're going to be able to assimilate into the culture. I don't mean copy. I don't mean conform, but I mean get along with other people of different cultures without creating a huge problem. That's what I mean. Under pressure from federal government, the company agreed to a $200,000 civil penalty and also to create an uncapped back pay fund to compensate individuals who lost wages because they weren't able to prove that they were in the country legally, according to Nonpartisan Educational Foundation. Well, if you have a social security number, that might be a hint. Judicial Watch believes the effort is part of a larger effort by the federal government and the Obama administration to facilitate the entry of illegal aliens into the United States. Yeah, because they can exploit them and use them as slaves is what they want to do. And let me bring up a great point here. If you hire illegal aliens because they will work for less, first of all, I would argue that that is racist. But if you allow all the illegal aliens, you weren't listening to the whole show. You get a dumpty because that data card's been full since the first story. Christelle hasn't been paying attention. I announced it 3 times. I gave her a dumpty on air, didn't I? The problem is when you bring the illegal alien and tell them that they are now a citizen, well, then you have to pay them at least the minimum wage, which I would argue if they're a citizen, of course they're entitled to. Well, then that's going to create a need for you to bring in more illegals, because when you made the illegals you had now citizens, now you have to pay them minimum wage. And the whole reason that you tried to bring in illegal aliens was because you couldn't afford to pay the minimum wage. Friends, that brings us to the last of the dumdies of the day. We're going to have an HD Dumdy because that's going to be the only show that makes it on here. And it's the last of the dumdies of the day. My God, friends, listen to this hot in here. Listen to this. Barbershop fined $750 for refusing to cut a woman's hair. Now, the trouble with this is that what you've got now is basically an attack on certain companies that want to appeal to like a men's club. It's going to be so that a men's club cannot even be a men's club anymore. This is AP. Listen to this. A Pennsylvania barbershop has been ordered and fined $750 for refusing to cut a woman's hair. Barbary advertises itself as a high-end gentleman's barbershop and offers complimentary beers and spirits. The Washington barbershop was recently fined by the State Bureau of Professional and Occupational Affairs for gender discrimination. Owner John Interval tells the Washington Observer reporter, and there's a link here on the cam, the fine infringes on the shop's involvement, Interval says. Guys come in here to get a little bit of a getaway and to be around other guys. Now the story gets worse. Let me go and actually click the link. The barbershop offered to give the woman a free haircut at any place she wanted to go that wasn't there because it's a men's club. I mean, there are men's clubs, there are women's clubs. It's not a gender issue. It's just the way some organizations are. Well, the female customer had booked hair appointments online for herself and her boyfriend. She asked for a short haircut known as a wave, but was turned away. Interval says his staff recommended other shops and even offered to pay a haircut someplace else to compensate for the inconvenience. But no, that wasn't enough. Friends, that's the Dumdy of the day, and you are listening to The Correct Views. Sam I.B. Gangi of the Media Speaks, signing off and reminding you to look up the work of Kyle, Court, D. Lake, and myself at themediaspeaks.com. And you can go to the correctviews@hotmail.com. Every penny you give to me goes towards a better show. And as always, friends, let me remind you to not keep your money in a bank, because a lot of times what the government will do is take your money out and say a certain amount of theirs. It's something they refer to as a haircut.